Hey everybody, Economic Ninja here. Got a great question from a subscriber the other day and I thought I'd go over it. That was, can you do a video explaining what would happen if the government stopped spending money all at once? And it's an interesting question because at first thought, you'd think it's pretty easy. Everything would come crashing down, which it would. But you have to realize, you have to think about it in a different term, or at least I started doing it because at first I'm like, it's a pretty simple question. I mean, the government, the US government, is the largest employer on earth. It is absolutely massive. If it stopped spending money, a ton of people would be out of work. But we have to also think of what would happen if they just stopped spending a little bit of money, because that part is sort of obvious. Everything would collapse, absolutely everything, because so many of our local and county governments rely on federal funds because they trickle down in some form or fashion all the way down to your local town or municipality. And a lot of people don't realize that. So really, the government doesn't have to do a whole lot as far as pulling back spending. Now, this is coming on the eve of these, well, not the eve, because they just extended the debt limit. And it seems like that's going to happen forever. But I actually believe that there is going to be a day where that does not happen. And that is going to lead to an absolute catastrophe economically. And let me explain. So for decades and decades, there's been a debt limit, and it's always being kicked, the can is always being kicked down the road. However, there is a day where it's going to stop. And I do personally believe that there will be a day soon in the next couple of years where it does stop, where they finally face the music, right? But it's going to be in a way that you didn't see coming. See, honestly, I believe that there is a plan out there, because the fact is, wealthy people become wealthier when economies collapse than when they're doing good. Okay, and it's a very hard concept for people to understand. And I'll break it down in a thought of a board of directors of a large company. A lot of people would think that there are some companies in the past that have purposely sabotaged their corporations to the point where the company goes completely bankrupt and closes its doors. And they would go, why would anybody ever do that to their own company? Well, the reason why they're asking that question is because they're thinking like a normal, rational human being that cares about other people. And they would say, and not only cares about the other people, but also has the kind of mentality is like, I want to build things, I want to be great, and I want to make money and be successful. Well, in order to do that, I need to produce a product that's good, and I need to take care of my employees, right? So that's good thinking, that's wholesome thinking. The problem with that kind of thinking is when you get to a certain level, you're able to do things under the guise of laws that were made that would allow you to destroy something that was great once great, and you still get paid lots of money and you get to walk away because you can blame all kinds of different situations or people and not yourself, all right? And that's the way the world works, and it's sad. Well, people have learned over time throughout history that you could implode something, sell off your best assets, destroy your horrible assets, and walk away unscathed and pay yourself massive bonuses. The government is actually very similar, and there are people that work for the government that understand this. And so the ability to be able to pull back spending or throw money out into economy and either build it up or collapse it is a very real thing. It's happened all throughout history, okay? And so if the government, and this is what's really scary now, the government is spending so much money and giving everyone so much money that if let's say a situation was to arise where they would be able to pull back spending because it's not any fault of our own, they would say, but we've got to face the facts, you know? John F. Kennedy wrote an amazing speech about this, about 30 days before he was assassinated. And it's about a plan. And I think people need to realize that there is a plan out there to get people so entrenched in debt, so completely wrapped around in debt that one day, if you were to pull a plug, just a little plug on something, some kind of social benefit, and this is hopefully a warning to people because, you know, there are a lot of people that depend on money to come in every month, especially our retirees. Social Security, you know, there's always that looming rumor, that looming, you know, thing out there that Social Security could become extinct one day, that there's just not enough money. But in the back of people's minds, they go, yeah, but you know what? The government's never going to let that happen. Well, the problem is, what if they did? What if one day they said, you know, there's just not enough money, Social Security in the Social Security account, and we can't keep printing it because we now have a national catastrophe because we're in a debt crisis. And if we keep paying these numbers, then we're going to absolutely implode and we're going to lose our military. And there's a myriad of reasons they can throw at you. So my point being is that if you think of it that way, you start to really open your mind to, wow, it's not the fact that they could just stop spending money all at once and crash the economy. They could just pull back a little in the right segments. And if you pull back just a little and it goes underreported and people don't really care because like, well, it's not affecting me, it's just them. They don't understand the ripple effect, the wave of destruction that causes. And just like what you've seen recently, and I'll draw a parallel hopefully to the supply chain crunch, where you see a closure of an economy immediately for a certain amount of weeks, and then let's open back up. And then everybody races to the stores to go buy something. The stores go empty. Now they're waiting for the trucks to show up. Now they're getting the truck stuff. And then what happens is the demand, the pull of all those ships from other countries or other states, you know, the trucking, what happens is that little ripple, all of a sudden the waves start getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And most people don't understand how that works, not only in the supply chain, but also in government spending. And I do believe that people need to prepare now for a day where Social Security won't be here. Now, if I'm wrong, here's the great news. You're richer than you were before because what you did is you spent less, you depended less on a government agency, and you saved and you invested. That's good, right? So see, this kind of plan works if I'm right, and it also works if I'm wrong, all right? And I think that is the wise thing to do because the facts are, we have never seen this kind of money spending in history, which means there will be a day where it is pulled back. It is always pulled back, but people don't remember those times. It was pulled back in 2006 to 2008. Then it was ramped up like crazy, which led to all kinds of other issues through quantitative easing. But my point being is there's always a pullback. Same thing happened in the Roaring 20s. We saw a pullback and then all of a sudden, Great Depression. I want people to understand that there's always times of booms and then there's times of busts. The problem is this boom is unlike anything we've ever seen before, which means the bust will also be like anything we've seen before. I hope you guys got something out of this. Thank you so much to everybody that's hitting the like buttons and subscribing. The Economic Ninja is out.